Let's just have a conversation, okay?
I'd love to.
The first of all, I want to tell you how much I appreciate the history of El Centro de la Raza, and the fact that it opens its services, its heart to all of our indigenous people, us American Indians and Northwest Coast natives, El Salvador natives, Mexico natives, and when you share the history of this place, the fact that Leonard Peltier and the Robidoux were involved with the making of this place and investing their time and efforts into it, and the fact that fish was brought in, from the natives, that we have a unity that isn't discussed properly,
Right.
It isn't discussed properly. So the Anglo press isn't going to necessarily. Oh, go ahead. You could turn that way for yourself. So the white Anglo press isn't necessarily going to do us any favors by telling us that there's a unity between um, the American Indian and the Chicanos, and I kind of felt like they don't. I kind of feel as though they don't want to advertise that because it kind of makes the Anglo look weaker in its control of the power structure, because it's supposed to be democratic in essence, as far as our population, but we still have to bow down to, I guess, their paradigm, their structure, English only, their laws, based on like their parliament. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I guess I want you to share about the history of the unity amongst indigenous peoples that you've been promoting over the years.
My whole life, even before I knew much about politics or economics or history, was tied up to the crisis of identity. Living in the heart of the empire, the first uh, major, the first major initiative by the oppressor is to wipe out an identity, to erase the history, the identity of the people they oppressed, and that way they can maintain control. So, growing up in northern New Mexico, little tiny village that I was born, um, and then first day of school, I have to speak English. My family had been there for 7, 8 generations, maybe 10 generations before I go to that school that first day, and they tell me, and I can hardly understand what they're saying. You cannot speak Spanish in this school. You cannot bring uh, tortillas, tacos to school. And I panic out. I freak out. Like, what am I supposed to do? And your name is no longer Roberto, it's Bobby. I freak out. I ran home. I hide in the chicken coop. Um, they dragged me out, and finally, little by little, I have to go to school. But I remember, I think a turning point in my life was, all right, kids, it's Halloween time, and we're gonna get dressed, and you pick your dress. You can come as a pirate, or as a cowboy, or as a bandit, or as a flamenco. I mean, whatever. Come dressed up as a cat or a dog or whatever, right? And for whatever reason, my grandmama, who raised me from day one, because my mama died when I was a few months old, um, either she suggested or I suggested I want to be I want to be dressed up like an Indian, and so she did, a little, help me make a little quiver, you know, the outfit and the paint that she painted my face, and I went as an Indian, and then I loved it so much that when we would play, we would say, okay, let's play Cowboys and Indians, and I would always want to be the Indian, and my grandmother, would say to me, do you have Indian blood? You're part Indian, because she was born in further north in New Mexico, in an Indian pueblo, but she was adopted out, and I don't know the entire story, but I know that she was the only one who ever pointed out that there was Indian part of me. So I would go sort of, first grade, second grade, third grade. I'm always going to a Halloween celebration as an Indian, and everybody would say, "Well, you came last year. You've been coming as an Indian all the time. Why don't you get it?" And I said, "No, no." One day I went to the barber because we would go and charge the barber cut, and I had seen a picture of a mohawk, and I told the barber, my mama and my daddy said it's okay if I get my hair cut like this, and he said, "Oh, are you sure? Yeah, yeah. I already, well, okay. I guess you better make sure you're not fibbing to me." So, make a long story short, he does a mohawk. I get home and everybody, "Oh my God, look what the little brat did." This must have been the third or fourth grade. And what have you done? Look at who cut it. Well, the barber. Well, how did you, whatever. But there was a little bit of a flap, and my mama defended me. Well, let him. It's leave him alone. So before, in the next several days or weeks, 3 or 4 of my buddies got their hair cut the same way. So why do I tell you all that? Because I began to look at, and I would see the Indians come to Las Vegas, New Mexico, like in a group to maybe sell their wares or something, and I would hold it, I would watch them, and I had this reverence for the beautiful customs, the braids, the way they look. And I always saw it as a kind of a mysterious and beautiful, because in Las Vegas, then I think they wiped them all out, and they would come from the pueblos a little bit further north, uh, and it was just always fascinating. So I think that's what gave me more than anything, Robert. And it's a great honor to be talking to you about this. A sense of being connected to the whole struggle of Indian people, and then when we started reading about how Columbus discovered America, and you wonder like, well, how can millions of people be discovered by somebody who's lost? They discovered him, not the other way around, that he was the one that was lost. So, and then the whole business as time goes on, the Indians sold Manhattan Island for $24 worth of trinkets, and I'm thinking, Indian people had thousands of years of history, and there's something fishy about this business, and come to find out, on my own, of course, that Indians didn't see that people owned the land, that the land belonged to everybody. So when they cooked up that story about selling the most expensive real estate in the world for $24 worth of trinkets, I just knew something was fishy, and then the whole business about Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, and I'm thinking, somebody had to pay a price, for freedom. I mean, one guy doesn't free millions of people who are enslaved. Something's fishy here.